أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. You know, we've journeyed through the huge, epic stories in Surah al-Kahf, trials of faith, of wealth, knowledge, and power. And now the Qur'an brings us to the very last and maybe the quietest test of them all, the test of our intention. So today, we're going to dive into these incredibly profound final verses that really they turn the mirror right back at us. They ask not what we did, but the question that matters so much more: why did we do it?
And that brings us to this question. This is really the heart of what we're talking about today. It's so personal, isn't it? It just strips away everything on the outside, all the titles, all the accomplishments, and forces us to look at the very core of why we do what we do. It's the ultimate audit of the soul, really. So before we look deep inside our own hearts, the Qur'an does something amazing. It zooms all the way out and sets this vast cosmic stage. It paints a picture from the end of days, a really dramatic scene that shows us exactly why our inner state, our intention, matters so much. I mean, just look at this imagery. The Arabic word here is yamuj, and it paints this picture of just utter chaos. People surging and crashing into one another like waves in a storm, with no direction. And you have to understand, this isn't just a physical scene, it's a spiritual one. It reflects a heart that doesn't have a true center, a heart that's lost and just turbulent. And then, in an instant, everything changes. The trumpet sounds, and all that chaos, all that surging and confusion, it just stops. It's such a powerful image showing that shift from the complete disorder of creation to the absolute perfect order of the Creator. Accountability arrives, and every single soul is gathered. Okay, so the stage is set, and now the Qur'an introduces this, well, it's a chilling paradox. It asks us to think about a certain group of people, and these aren't the lazy ones or the people who didn't care. No, these are people who worked tirelessly, who strove their entire lives, and yet they are called the greatest of all losers. I mean, how is that even possible?
That question just hangs there, doesn't it? It's a real spiritual challenge, because it's telling us that the worst kind of loss isn't just failing. No, the worst loss is dedicating your entire life to something, truly believing you're doing good work, only to find out it was all for nothing.
And this is where you see that profound disconnect. On one hand, you have their perception of themselves. They genuinely think we are doing excellent work. But then you have the reality. All their effort, all their striving, the word is sa'i, is completely lost. The tragedy here isn't a lack of effort. It's that the effort was pointed in the completely wrong direction. So this brings us to the most important question. Why? Why do these deeds fail? What is it that just sucks all the value out of them? Well, the problem isn't the action on the outside. It's the reality on the inside, the lack of spiritual substance. The key idea here is a concept called wazn, which basically means spiritual weight. See, in God's scales, it's not about how big or how visible an act is to other people. A deed can look absolutely enormous to the world, but on the inside it can be totally hollow, lighter than air. Real weight comes from sincerity, from humility, from having your heart aimed in the right direction. And the consequence for having no wazn is, well, it's stark. On the day of resurrection, God says He will assign those deeds no weight whatsoever. Zero. All that hard work, all that striving is rendered completely weightless, almost as if it never even happened. So what is the culprit? What's the subtle thief that sneaks in and steals the weight from our best deeds, turning these hardworking people into the greatest losers? The great spiritual masters, the Sufis, they identify it as the ego, the self, and they have a name for it. They call it hidden shirk. This insight from al-Qushayri is just so precise, it's brilliant. He describes it almost like a spiritual split screen. On one hand, you're performing an act for God, but a part of you is standing back, watching and admiring your own piety. The ego literally becomes an audience for its own worship. Ibn Arabi builds on this. He describes it as the self, quietly, inserting itself into that sacred space between you, the worshiper, and God, the worshipped. It's like a silent partner sneaking in to claim a share of a deed that was meant only for God. And then Rumi, he just drives the point home with surgical precision. It's so direct. It forces us to ask, who is this performance really for? Was my gaze fixed on the Creator, or do my eyes wander to admire my own reflection in the mirror of that good deed? So what's the antidote to this hidden disease? It's this beautiful concept called ikhlas. It means sincerity, but it's more than that. It's the active, conscious process of purifying an act from all other intentions, whether it's for praise, for reputation, or even for your own self-satisfaction, so that it is done for one audience and one audience alone.
Now, after diagnosing this very subtle, very dangerous problem, the surah doesn't just leave us there. Thankfully, it gives us the cure. The final, incredibly powerful verse lays out a clear, step-by-step path to make sure our deeds do have weight and that our hopes are not in vain.
And the solution is laid out so beautifully in these 4 steps. First, the guide is a human messenger, which shows us that this path is actually walkable for us. Second, the goal is one God, a declaration that frees us from depending on anything or anyone else. Third, that hope we have must be turned into real, righteous action. And finally, the most crucial condition, don't associate any partners in the worship of your Lord, and that includes that secret partner, the self.
So for our last section, we're going to shift from explaining to reflecting. We're invited now to take these powerful ideas and apply them to our own inner lives, with a couple of really direct, soul-searching questions.
Let's just sit with this for a moment. In our acts of service, the charity we give, our worship, whose approval were we secretly looking for? Let's just be honest with ourselves. Who is the real audience in our heart? And this one, wow, this might be the ultimate test of sincerity. If nobody ever knew you did it, if you got no credit, no thank you, no recognition at all, would that good deed still feel meaningful to you? Would you still do it just because the one who sees all things is watching? And we'll end with this beautiful prayer, this munajjah from our source. It just perfectly captures the heart of everything we've discussed. It's a plea to be purified from our own selves so that when we finally meet our Lord, we show up empty-handed of any claims, carrying only what was purely and sincerely done for him. This analysis was compiled with deep gratitude by Mir Ali Shah, a seeker sharing what he's learned through the Living the Wisdom of the Qur'an project. For any AI-related errors in pronunciation or in the content, we humbly ask for your forgiveness, and most importantly, we ask for God's acceptance. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey into the heart.